Went away. Okay. I want to introduce you to my business partner and my best friend, Marilyn Harper. For those of you who don't know her and are joining us for the very first time, she's been called the Midwestern spiritual spark plug and the Bette Midler of the mystical movement. And on the Cryon stage, channeling alongside of Lee Carroll, who channels Cryon. We travel the country and the world with him, and we would love to see you at one of those events as well. A spiritual teacher and the channel or the divine link for Adironda and the Council of Light. She's invited back again and again as a featured speaker at conferences, retreats, and workshops for her warm, authentic, and offbeat stories of personal transformation. She will have you cracking up, guaranteed. Delivered in a way that's hilarious, heartfelt, and inspiring. She's an internationally recognized expert on the walk-in phenomenon and is the creator of a powerful healing program called Holographic Healing, a 5-part certification course in alternative healing, which you can use the swords with, the Selenite swords with. She's also a Reiki master, a Karuna master, a certified peak potentials trainer, a certified intuitive consultant, and a quantum touch practitioner. And you know, she's just a really nice person on top of all that. In her work as a speaker, facilitator, and healer, her goal is to provide fun experiences and practical methods to help people laugh, love, and live the life they are here to live in joy, peace, love, and laughter. If you don't know about Adironda, Marilyn is the divine link for Adironda, a spokesbeing from the 17th dimension who will help you learn to be the love you are. They represent a council of light that are masters that once walked the planet. And we never know for sure who's going to pop out, and we will have an activation from Adironda and the council at the end of this webinar. Without any further ado, I'd like to bring Marilyn Harper forward. Marilyn, are you there?
Oh my goodness. I think that's the first time you have ever read that whole introduction. First of all, I need to shorten it.
Aren't you proud of me? I read it.
You know, I guess there's a lot of people on with us that don't know who we are. We're business partners, and we encountered Tom Letter, and we'll tell you a little more about that in just a minute. But shoo, that was way too long. I was like, oh my goodness, who wrote that? I think I did. You know, yes, tonight it is a jam-packed hour, maybe we might go a little over an hour and 15 minutes webinar to help you learn exactly what has blocked you in the past as an energy practitioner, what your healing tools are, and how to release any blockages that stand in your way. And we're going to go through them pretty quickly, so you may want to get pen and paper handy to take some notes. I mean, there's 3 major blockages, and I'll go into those just really briefly, and then we'll go into them in more detail after I talk to you a little bit about Tom. But first, the 3 main blockages that we have found. I mean, how many of you get a healing practice, want to start a healing practice, want to work in your own healing practice, but you just feel like you're pushing the energy, or you feel like you don't trust what you're doing, or you would like to start a healing practice, but you don't trust your intuition? Well, that's one of the things that we're going to tackle tonight, is how to trust your intuition and move through that. We're going to tackle what happens when you feel frustrated or overwhelmed, how that affects your physical body, and how that affects all aspects in your world, and what to do about that when you feel that way. And you know how they have all kinds of complicated healing processes? We're going to go through that as well and show you a really simple, clear healing process that anyone can do that is so powerful. I have seen people's lives changed in 30 seconds with it. And that's what we're going to cover tonight. So we have a lot to do. I just want to tell you a little bit about our special guest tonight. It's not very often that our, our guest, Tom Letter, the magnificent Selenite sword maker and I and Joy all get together. But, you know, I met Tom in 2012, and I walked past his table of selenite swords of light, and it's like it boomed forth to me, and it came to me. Tom is a magnificent teacher. He's a wonderful healing practitioner. And I believe he used to be an engineer. I'm not sure. He'll tell you about that in just a minute. But what he's done with crystal, stone, light, resin, he has healing tools. You should go into his house. It's like everywhere you look is a sanctuary of healing. And he is a magnificent teacher. And we are honored and pleased to have Tom Letter, the selenite sword maker himself, with us tonight. And Tom, I would just like you to tell us a little bit about why you got into the healing business, how you got into the healing tool business, how that all began. Can you do that for us?
Yeah, I'd be really happy to share that with you. I started making the selenite swords about 11 years ago, and I've been doing it full time for 8 years. And what got me into it is I had had a friend that was working with crystals, cutting gems, and he also was working with a lot of quartz crystals. And he was going to a show, and I told him to pick me up some Lemurian crystals that I had heard about. And I was real excited to experience some of these crystals. And he brought me back a whole flat of these Lemurian crystals. And when I started working with them and holding them, I could really feel the energy and the love that was being transmitted by the Lemurian crystals. And some of you have probably had that experience also. And so I don't know if you had the experience, but once you have one crystal, usually, well, I think I want to check out some other crystals. So I went to a show and to actually search out and see what other crystals were out there. And I ran across a lady that was, I was at this show in Denver, Colorado, and was walking around looking at some of the vendors. And this lady was working on a man's leg with a piece of selenite in the middle of the aisle. And I said, wow, I guess I can ask her a question. I said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm repairing an injury on the inside of this man's leg. And I said, well, that's pretty interesting. How do you know? And she said, I can see the energy coming out of the sword, and I can see the light going into this man's knee, and I'm repairing an injury. And yes, indeed, that this lady could do that. I actually ended up becoming friends with her, and we stayed in touch for many years. But she had that ability to actually see inside your body. And when she told me about the selenite, I got really excited that this would be a crystal I would like to work with. So I went looking, of course, for some selenite, and looked around, and I found some. Eventually, first few tries were unsuccessful, but eventually I found the right selenite, which is it's from Morocco, the mountains in Morocco. And so I got the right selenite, and I shaped it up into some swords, the first ones. And at that time, I was studying with a lady named Sai Ma in Denver, who was a spiritual teacher, and she always talked about energy. So I was at one of her workshops, and there was about 400 people. So I decided to give her a sword, and went up to her room and showed her the sword, gave it to her. She grabbed hold of it. She said, oh, I remember that energy. And she immediately said, well, I need another one. So I had 4, so I gave her 2. But to make a long story short on that, she brought the swords down that night and called in Archangel Michael and did about a 20-minute meditation working with the energy of Archangel Michael. And so I left the it was a week-long workshop. I left, went back to Fort Collins, but a few months later, I saw her in Boulder, and she called me over and she said, I want to order 100 of those swords for our next workshop. And I said, well, I got 2 left. Now I just I didn't actually say that. I said, okay, let me see what I can do. But I had a few months, and eventually I got located the material and was able to do that. And in the first week that we were at the next workshop, we sold over 85 of those first selenite swords of light, and they were quite happy with that. And I ended up working through her for a number of years. And then I met more and more people from around the world, and some people from Japan came and they loved the swords. And when they went back, they took a good number of swords back to Japan when they had come to one of these events. And later they called me up and said, hey, could you bring over some more swords, and we would like to have you teach us how to use them. So that started the workshops that I've been doing throughout the world, and just really exciting. The progress of the swords has been phenomenal. Every year, more and more light, more and more energy comes into the swords of light, and they become more powerful, multi-dimensional swords of light that allow you to access these multiple dimensions, to work with information from those dimensions, to assist you in working with your guides and your archangels that you like to work with, or ascended masters that you may work with. They can help stimulate and your connection to the divine. As Katrina Raphael said, it marries selenite, marries spirit and matter together. So it becomes really a great healing tool. And that's kind of how I got started, Marilyn, into it. I started with a Lemurian crystal, and then it's created this just really enjoyable occupation. I say I've found my puzzle piece. I know what I'm to do. And this has been a wonderful experience these last 8 years of training people on how to use the swords and also making them.
Excellent. Thank you, Tom. I do have to say that so far, everything that I've seen that you make, I use, and it's so powerful. And we're going to help some people tonight during the webinar learn how to use those tools that you provide, as well as tools of their own that they may or may not, that they already have, you know. So thank you for letting us know how you kind of got started. I always learn something every single time I talk with you. It's pretty cool. You know, one of the blockages of that really light workers stumble over, or practitioners stumble over, is the trust of their own intuitive gifts. And when I saw Tom, my intuition kind of vibrated off the chair. You know, it was like, you need to pay attention to this. You need to pay attention to this. And that's how you learn to trust it. Is everybody's got talents and skills and gifts and knowledge and experience, but so many times we second guess ourselves. And one of the things that I've learned is how to confirm my intuition so I do not doubt. You know, if you're an energy worker, or as Adironda likes to say, an energy plurker, play plus work equals plurk. One day it will be in the dictionary, I'm sure. But if you're an energy plurker, people usually come around you for guidance. They usually come around you for your own intuitive gifts. You know, somebody's standing next to you, and all of a sudden you look over and you find them pouring their heart out to you. Well, they have a knowledge or an understanding on a cellular level that you, as a light plurker, are someone that they can trust, and someone that can help them steer through this world that we're living. You know, and the key is for you as the light plurker is to learn to trust your intuition, learn to trust those things within you that can provide confidence, can provide a tool, and that you have that knowingness, that verbal connection. In our our how to channel clerkshop that we do, we teach you how to find out how you get your information. But then my question is, how do you confirm that information? I know Joy has talked about how she confirms when she knows that her intuition is communicating with her. I know how I do it. And then we'll ask and see how Tom uses his tools. But first, just think about that for just a minute. How, when you have an intuitive moment or you have a synchronistic moment, how do you know, how do you confirm that you can trust it, that it's not your imagination, that it's not your ego, that it's not something besides your intuition? Joy, are you there with us? How do you know? I mean, you're so intuitive. You are very clear, and I've watched you not second guess your information. So how do you know that it's your intuition, and how do you confirm that?
But I have to say, I did have to, when I know, it's like, there's no doubt. I mean, I don't, if it's solid, I just know. I don't doubt it. I move forward. It's the times that when I'm a little doubtful, and it's usually because I've determined that it's because of two things. One is it's something from a past life that's blocking me. Like I didn't believe in crystals at all. I didn't believe in rocks. When I first started working with Marilyn, I first started on this path, I just thought, well, that's ridiculous. How can a rock have power? And then we went to Mount Ida and we went crystal digging. And, I played in the dirt. I love to dig in the dirt. I love to garden, but I was just there. And everyone was having, a great time. And then all of a sudden I noticed that the crystals, like wherever I dug, the crystals were coming up to me. I mean, I had a bucket full of crystals, really nice, big ones. And I had a vision where I saw myself in this robe that had little crystals all over it. And I realized that I was probably in Atlantis. I thought maybe at first it was Lemuria, but I think it was Atlantis. But when I saw that vision, I realized that sometimes when we have the biggest resistance to something, when we're saying there's no way this can be true, I don't believe it, like we're vocally resistant, that can actually be when there really is something for you. So that's one thing. So now I've gotten to a point when I do find myself really resisting, I have to kind of stop and look and see, okay, well, what's that about? The other thing is just there's just a knowing, it's just like, I know, I get a feeling in around my heart chakra. And then if I have any doubt at all, and usually the doubt is more related to something else, some kind of fear. If I have any doubt at all, I just ask for signs, and I see hearts wherever I go. Marilyn sees feathers. Hearts will show up. Hearts will show up as a drop of water on the ground. They'll show up as the latte the cream in my latte. They will show up everywhere. I think everyone gets to find their own way, but it helps to hear how other people have it, because then you start seeing how it might show up for you.
I think that's really important. Another aspect of to be able to trust your intuition is your intuition is never going to stir up a lot of drama. There's not going to be any drama attached to an intuitive thought. It's just going to be straightforward and intuitive. And as Joy said, I ask for a sign. I ask for a conscious physical sign my logical brain can understand. And that really is a feather or I see an iridescent, like a light wave, like, when sunlight shines through a prism, I will see a flash of that kind of light as a connection. And one of the ways that we would recommend that you find your confirmation is first take it into meditation. as you go into meditation, ask, what is a sign your logical brain can understand that will confirm for you a yes? I know I kind of installed a tuning fork, an energetic tuning fork into my body, so I can, so it vibrates with yes. Because, you know, when I began this process, I didn't believe anything. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. I didn't believe anything. And with that, you know, it's a matter of keeping that connection and then trusting that your intuition will never take you into a place of drama. I know there's several people that have shared how they get their own intuitive confirmation. Holly says, I have a warm feeling in my stomach. That's really cool. Other times I just know something, but I don't know how I know it, but it's always right. Yeah, exactly. Nahama, I feel and trust and know. I may get the energy of truth, goosebumps or God bumps or, you know, chill bumps, whatever you call those things, across your shoulders and your heart. Lionheart says it's a feeling of peace when it's clear and grounded. There's a depth to the vibration of insight, intuition. Very cool. Rhonda says my energy nods, my head forward. You know, I've seen that before. We've worked with someone that during our guided meditations, her head would spin around. Lionheart also says, I see hearts too in rocks and water. Interesting, very interesting. So Tom, I know you create some tools that are so powerful in using confirmation and clearing out that energy. Can you share, you're on mute first. Can you share a little bit about your tools?
Hold on, yeah. There it is.
There we go. Yeah, share a little bit about some of the tools that you use to confirm your own intuition, intuitive thought.
Over the last 12 years, I would say that intuition and guidance from the ascended masters, angelic beings like Metatron, Archangel Michael, and El Morey on the ascended master side, Saint Germain, Serapis Bey, and Lord Lanto, all these great beings, I have been getting information coming through. And I always verify the information. Before I got into crystals, I was actually had learned how to do dowsing with a pendulum, and I'd studied with Hannah Kruger here in Boulder, who is quite well known, Kruger Herbs. And also I studied with a man who had worked with Dr. Purcell's, who was considered the best medical dowser in the United States. So, and Aaron Anderson was that gentleman's name. He was very, very psychic, but he always verified things with his pendulum. And what happened after the tsunami in Japan, the Japanese were, and I was getting it with my pendulum, that the radiation had started to leak into the food supply. Prior to this, I was using a pendulum that was a stainless steel pendulum to verify everything. So, and how I've used it is every idea I get, every ingredient that goes into the selenite swords of light, into the handle, on the end of the handle, is I douse that out for accuracy. So nothing gets into the tools, and I only bring out those tools that douse, yes, in a positive, have a positive energy and should be in the selenite swords of light. So what happened, to finish that story, in Japan, I went looking for the ingredients or the crystals that could help transmute radiation, because in Japan they were having a lot of problems with this. And what happened is I found the crystals that did that. I added those to the mixture of that was in the swords, and then I created a new pendulum. And the pendulum, this is the current pendulum. I'll give you a little, show you if you can see that. This is a pyramid pendulum. It's made of over, currently it's made of over, yeah, Marilyn's you can see really good, is made of over 400.
I'm going to hold this up again because it's a little, there you go.
Hold on, let me get the light. This might be. So this is my little pendulum. And the pendulum, when something is correct, it moves clockwise. For me, if something's not correct, it moves counterclockwise. So that's, and also you can do percentages, you can do many other things. But so what happened was my pendulum production moved from just a yes-no pendulum, that the pendulum had processing capability, that it could actually, because this pendulum has in it selenite powder that I collect from making the swords, and it has over 400 power crystals crushed into a powder, mixed in an epoxy, and then put into the mold. And also it has a neodymium magnet. So you combine the energy of the magnetic field, the hyperfields that it creates, that what it can do is it can, one, give you yes and no, but then it can also remove non-beneficial energies or distortions from your field. And this helps you to be clearer and clearer. And then also the idea is that I want to check everything that I put into the selenite swords of light or into the new crystalline onks that I make, or into the new ascension rods that have just come out. This is an example of all these have all the crystal mixture in them, and also have sacred waters from around the world. So these are just a few of the things that the mixture is in, and the pendulum assists me in making sure that the items that I put into the sword are the very best. And I always go out looking for new crystals. I just got back from the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, which was really exciting this year. I spent 4 days and found everything that I was looking for. I found many new crystals for the end of the sword that they put on each sword, and also found many new crystals that are now going to be in the swords. In addition, last year, right at the end of the year, I returned from Australia, and I had made a pretty big trip to Western Australia and was able to pick up a lot of very rare crystals that are only from Western Australia. And those are also now in the selenite swords of light. And all of that is checked. Check my intuition with the pendulum. You could say that the pendulum is really just connecting to your higher self. It's kind of like intuition training when you start to use a pendulum, because you disconnect yourself from the kind of looking for some answer or any preconceptions, and it goes off of what your higher self is directing come through your physical matrix, to allow the pendulum to either swing clockwise or counterclockwise. What I found is that if you swing the pendulum counterclockwise, it removes things. And I actually, that first test was the pendulums I made. I took them to Japan, and I had many of the really psychic individuals that were using the selenite swords. When they got a hold of the pendulums, they felt that it was removing the radiation. It had the ability to remove the radiation, and it was doing that. And so I've just carried that concept forward and added many other new crystals into the pendulum that also add to clearing capabilities that it has. And in the workshop in the training program in Denver, we'll be learning how to use these to clear the non-beneficial energies and distortions, so that our intuition will be more powerful, stronger, and then you will have a methodology of a way to check it. So that's my method, Marilyn and Joy.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Tom. That's really powerful. And I noticed that you pulled up your your activators there. I have not seen those. Those are pretty impressive.
That's some new things I'll mention that have been coming up and are really we're going to be using these to do activations in the workshop. So it's another kind of benefit for the hands-on workshop that we're going to be putting on. It's really exciting because my objective and Marilyn's objective and Joy's is we want you to have all the skills, the processes, the techniques of how to use these particular tools to really supercharge your life and be able to manage things that come at us, whether they be non-beneficial energies, distortions, challenges, or opportunities, whatever we want to call them, but have the ability to more control what's happening in our life because we can control keeping a clean field in our homes, in our lives, in our families.
Cryon's channel this weekend basically said that a lot of healers were waking up and that they were on the brink of, that there were a bunch of powerful healers on the brink of discovery, that they had simply lost their skills and they were stepping into their power again. And I just think that this is so timely that we got that message this weekend, and then here we are with you this week talking about the tools.
That triggers something I'd like to share, Joy, with everybody, in that selenite, the great thing about selenite is it magnifies everything that you put on it. So I've incorporated that. As I mentioned, there are many crystals in the handle, sacred water, but those are all magnified through the sword. But the greatest thing that's magnified through the sword is each individual's love, light, and grace that they bring to the planet. So what the swords do, and what my mission has been, is to help light workers be more powerful. Because if you look around us, yes, there's all kind of transitions going on. There's all kind of opportunities or issues that need to be confronted. And we need more light. We need the light workers on the planet to be really more powerful. And what the selenite swords can do is they can make you many, many, many more times powerful, because they will magnify all of your knowledge, all of your skills, all of your capabilities can be magnified through the sword and broadcasted into the environment around you. And further, these are non-linear tools. I could work on an individual any place on the planet with these selenite swords, and it would magnify my long distance work. Maybe some of you have done long distance work, and this is certainly a way that we can magnify many times. In fact, it's one of the things we do in the workshop. I have people use their pendulum to check if I'm holding a selenite sword of light and doing the work, how much more powerful am I? And the answer that the pendulum comes up with is phenomenal. I mean, people would say, oh, mine said I'm 1,000 times more effective. And mine says it even more. So it's like the swords magnify everything that you are, everything that, and I feel also they really help you find your puzzle piece. I think, as Cryon has been saying, that a lot of light workers are waking up. You've done this work in the past. We've been in the temples before. We've been in the temples of Lemurian. We've been in the temples of Atlantis. We've been in Egypt. We have all been together working in the past, and now we're coming together. What the sword does is it brings all of those technologies together, the Lemurian technologies, the Atlantean technologies, and the Egyptian technologies are now coming into focus in using some tools that can magnify all of those traditions into one modality, one just working with the sword, doing whatever work that you've been trained in, it magnifies your effectiveness, whether you're a theta healer, whether you're a light worker, whether you're a massage therapist. Whatever you do can be magnified many, many, many times.
Exactly, Tom. And with that, you know, there's so much out there right now. You know, you can, the biodecoding, the Reiki, the Karuna, the, you know, body talk, the, you know, I can't even list reconnective therapy. There's so many different modalities of healing that are out there, and they're good. However, sometimes as a light worker, as a healing practitioner, people just get frustrated and overwhelmed. That's one of the 3 blockages. They get frustrated and overwhelmed. They don't know which to turn because they're being faced with all the energy of their life. They're being faced with all the energy of so many different types of tools, and they invest all kinds of money in this class or this aspect or that aspect. But it really comes down to a very simple approach. It comes down to balance. It comes down to, as you are balancing the energy, as you are balancing your own personal energy field, you will know as you are working when you're out of balance, and you'll have a clear understanding. When you feel frustrated or overwhelmed, something is out of balance. That's actually how I use the Selenite swords, is I work on that form of balance and that form of energy to get a very clear understanding of how to utilize the crystal and energy, how to utilize very specific tools that are not just all over the place. But the selenite, as you said, Tom, really follows the intention of the user. It really magnifies the intention of what it's happening. The key is to understand what your best intention is. The key is to understand exactly how you're using it, and which is, in my feeling, is if you're drawn to the selenite swords, or you're drawn to the pendulums, you're drawn to the ankhs, you're drawn to any tools, your soul already knows how to use it. And in that capacity, the more complicated it is, the less likely it is to be from the purity of the tool that you're using. And so that's kind of my barometer. If it's simple, if it's clear, if it's pure, like the selenite swords, I don't know if you can see, I guess you can see it, or like any of the tools that you are making, Tom, it really does follow that intention. You know, Joy, when you are working with your tools, how do you work best through finding your own intention as to what you want to experience?
Well, you know, one thing that I wanted to address, because Tom was talking about using the tools long distance, and one way that Marilyn and I use the tools, and especially Marilyn, is on the stage. You know, I'll use them. She will use them on the stage on maybe a couple thousand people at a time. And people will say, I felt that. I've used them in the back of the room, back by our table when we're traveling, on, you know, maybe up to 20 people, Tom. And it's so fascinating because the people that I'm doing the activation on, they will feel it. But the thing that I noticed is that when I bring the swords out and start, you know, using them to balance the energy in the room, or using them to activate the chakras, people in the other parts of the room turn around to see what's going on. They feel the energy, even though there's no sound or anything going on. They feel the energy and they look to see where it's coming from.
It is really fascinating to watch, because Joy will start working with doing the light body activation that we learn in the mastery class, and when she does that, it's like flies to hunt to water or something. You know, I don't know what the saying is, but people just, like, she starts working with 1 or 2 people and there'll be 30 people there all of a sudden. And what happens is when I use the swords on stage, the selenite swords of light on stage, the activation goes through so powerfully that even if there's 1,000 or 2,000 people in the audience, the people in the back row feel it just as much as the people in the front row, you know, and that's a part of the tools as to how they're used. And that's why we know we get so overwhelmed and frustrated. So my statement is to help you with that frustration is simplify your toolbox, simplify the energy that you're using, and know that it's not about learning a brand new modality every time you turn around. It's really about having 1 or 2 or 3 very powerful tools that you know work, that shift the consciousness of whoever they're working with. Tom, I think I interrupted. You were going to say something?
It's, you know, I kind of forgot what it was. So,
well, you know, the key is simplification. As you know, there's several questions about the swords, does size matter, things like that. The key is that selenite and the mixture that Tom actually puts in the handle of the sword. This is another small sword. This one is a laser. I'm not sure. Can you see that? Let me see.
No,
come a little closer, Marilyn. There you go.
No, tilt it.
And talk.
Oh, and talk. Yeah. So, because you have to talk. There you go.
There
now you can see it. This is a laser, in laser flower of life sword that's brand new. This is the first time I saw it today. And it's got a gigantic Lemurian crystal on the handle. And what I've found is that energy that comes through the balance with the flower of life, the balance with the selenite, and all the products that you have in the handle of the sword, all of the, there we go, all of the energy that comes through is so magnificent. And that's what happens when you work with a sword, whether you're working with, you know, a large sword, or whether you're working with a small sword of light, whether you're working with a pendulum and the ankh, you know, whatever tools you're using, it's really now time to simplify. It's really now time to get that energy simple, so you're not, you know, going through and feeling overwhelmed by everything, trying to do this modality and that modality and this modality and that modality. Bring it back home. Bring it into the key of simplicity.
I know what I was going to mention now, and that was that really what the master workshop's about is really providing a lot of very specific techniques of how to clear the chakras, how to do a light body activation. As Marilyn and Joy were sharing, is that it doesn't, you could have 100, 200, 300, 1,000 people in a room. And if you do this process that you'll learn in the workshop called the light body activation, everybody in the room will feel it when you're up on the stage. It doesn't matter that they're 50 or 100 feet away from you. The energy of the selenite swords is so palpable, and that they will be able to feel it. In fact, I always tell people that are thinking about coming to a workshop, if you want to be able to feel the energy of crystals, this is the workshop to come to, because you don't even have to be holding the crystal and you can feel its energy. And the other thing is, recently what's been happening is everybody that's been coming to the workshops has been able to see energy, to see light coming out of the sword, to see its effect within the person, to see their light bodies actually becoming brighter and brighter, seeing their halos around their head, seeing different colored lights, violet, purples, and pinks, come in around their head while doing the light body activation. So if you've wanted to be able to see energy more concretely, or just be able to see it, in addition to being able to feel it, this is a workshop for you. We really have the program of how to use these swords in concrete hands-on training that we'll be doing in Denver, Colorado, which is really exciting for me.
Understand that with that energy, with that focus of that experience, that connection, that's the simplicity of it. You know, people have walked away with amazing results. You know, there's so many complicated healing processes that you can learn. I mean, I took a course one time I was going to take a course one time. I didn't, because somebody that had already taken it showed me the manual, and it was a 3-inch thick binder that I was going to have to memorize. And I'm like, you know, I am not doing that. Show me the way, show me the simplicity of it. And that's what I do. And, you know, with a simple process that you can use with a simple, uncomplicated energy, you can connect. And Tom mentioned the workshop, the Plurkshop. It's a mastery class. And this mastery class that we're having in Denver, it starts at 10 o'clock in the morning on Friday and goes until about 4 o'clock on Sunday. And it is level 1, level 2, and level 3. And you can come away from that with the ingredients to be certified in the uses of the Selenite Sword of Light. And in that capacity, you know, you've got that energy so power-filled that when you work with the Selenite Sword of Light and any of the other tools, it was created, it's got this amazing handle that has all kinds of sacred mixtures in the handle. This one has a Super 7 stone on the end of it, which is an amazing combination. My old sword, it's not laser infused yet. It's got a Merkaba, a rose quartz Merkaba on the end. But you know what I found is the sword itself and your intention carries so much power, so much ability, so much effectiveness that you can really put down. You know, I used to travel with a lot of tools. All I travel with now are your pendulums, the selenite swords, and that's about it. It's not necessary to complicate the situation. And that's, you know, the third blockage that we're overcoming is to bring it down to the simple, bring it down to the basics. You know, Tom mentioned the mastery class that we're having. It's a 3-level course. It's level 1 is on Friday, level 2 is on Saturday, and level 3 is on Sunday. And it is a powerful experience. And most of the time, most people that would go to a workshop and training that's a really intensive training, you're easily going to spend $2,000 or $3,000 on the weekend. You've got, I know, to go spend a day with Deepak Chopra is $5,000. And, you know, that energy within itself is so surprising. And when you come back down to it, you can do a Reiki 1, 2, or 3, and that, you know, is many times as much as $1,000 or $1,500. Quantum touch is $1,500, plus you have 90 hours of practice to be certified. You know, most courses range from $400 to $3,000. You know, and we're offering the live Selenite Sword Mastery class. It is such a powerful class. You know, we've just talked a little bit about the different aspects that you learn, you know, at the class. Tom, do you want to go into a little more detail on the things that you will cover in the class? And I'll talk a little bit about the things that I cover in the different levels of the class.
Yeah, I think that's a really great idea. And the class really starts out with one of the bases is we want to really work on our chakras. Not only we use the pendulum to check the chakras to make sure that they're activated and balanced. And throughout the entire 3 days, what we're doing is we're refining our chakra and our subtle bodies by doing the various activations. And the first one is you would work on each other to do chakra balancing and activation. That would be the first step. And then later in that day, we also learn how to do the light body activation. So we start that right off the bat so that you each get a chance to perform the activity and receive the treatment. So we're constantly going back and forth, training you on how to use these tools. So that's pretty much the first day. Now the second day we do the light body activation again. We also learn how would you work on yourself at home. So the first day we've kind of worked on each other for the chakra activation. Second day we really want to delve into how would I work on myself with a selenite sword at home, because obviously the number one thing we want to do is help you refine your energy matrix, to keep your energy matrix at a high light quotient, to keep your energy matrix very clean. The other thing we do on that second day, we do another light body activation, so you get to practice with your partner again or a partner on doing the light body activation for each other. Then we go into really looking at how do you transform energy? How do you find issues? So we use the pendulum. There'll be pendulum training on how to use the pendulum, how to do analysis with the pendulum, and then how to do processes to remove non-beneficial energies, entities, or distortions from your field, which is really a powerful situation. Also, we'll be doing some various activations throughout the workshop. There's a divine feminine activation. We have a DNA activation, a time travel activation. So that pretty much takes care of the first 2 days. And then this third day, we go into more activations, and there'll also be a ceremony at the end where we use the flower of life. Let me show you one that this is a large flower life. This is 16 inches. This is also made with all the crystals, the mixture of over 400 power crystals, selenite powder. This has copper substructure in it, inside of it. So we'll be working with the flower of life directly in an activation to bring in more light, more love, more grace. The other thing, this will be the first time in a workshop in the U.S. we'll be working with the so you can see that. Is that showing up well?
No, you have to come closer to the camera, Tom.
All right, how about now?
Better, yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting as it bends the light. See the pattern in it.
So what I wanted to share with you is we're going to be using the flower of life the swords. What we found is that we've developed an activation that will help clear relationship issues and misconceptions that go back decades from the heart itself. So we'll be doing a heart activation, a very specialized heart activation, to clear and then reestablish relationships on a new level going forward. So that's a really exciting thing. Also, we found that the laser activated selenite sword of light, what its capability is that it can actually restructure or re-imprint the flower life into our cellular structure itself, and to strengthen the geometry of our physical matrix, which will help us and allow us to hold more light, love, and grace and gratitude in our lives. So that's some of the things that are going to be going on in the workshop that Marilyn and Joy and I will be doing. And then Marilyn has some other specialized things that she'll be doing with the selenite swords.
Yes, what I do with the selenite swords is I help people learn how to activate a group. I help people learn how to use the swords on multiple people at the same time. I also show you, I use holographic healing, which is a technique that I work with. And I show you how to go inside of the body, inside of the human, to do healing work, to do powerful realignment of the spine, realignment of the physical form, and align that with the emotional form. We'll be doing that on each day. I'm a channel, and so Sekhmet, the goddess of destruction and the goddess of creation, Egyptian goddess, she's the one with the head of a lion and the body of a woman. She actually comes in and uses the selenite swords, and when I use them in a group, it's like it may be seconds that people receive that activation, and I'll be teaching you how to do the exact same thing, whether you're a channel or not, that doesn't matter, but I'll be teaching, facilitating that, which we did not do the last time we did this mastery class. So it's something new that we'll be covering. In fact, there's a lot of new information that we'll be covering. It's one of those powerful classes. Just listening to you talk about it, Tom, and listening to everything. I was just, Lionheart said, you know how light is a wave, a particle. I just grounded and tried to see the light coming out of the sword, and I saw the sword bend with the wave of light coming off of it, as well as the understanding. The sword itself emits a light that bends, and it's going to into spaces in between this plane and in between this dimension, in another which is where the healing and energy work comes from. Absolutely, Lionheart. And it's working with the interdimensionality of the etheric body to heal in the physical. And you know, that is really the case. I mean, I know it's like, okay, I know all about it. Where do I sign up, right?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention, Marilyn, is, and this kind of came to me, I had this experience right before I went to Australia last year in October, and I was lying on my couch working with several swords, and I suddenly started to get this download of how the swords, on a more detailed level, how do they actually work? And what was coming through is that the swords magnify our intention. They take our intention. So what the sword is a thought-activated interdimensional tool of light that allows us to access multiple dimensions. In fact, in a channeling I had with Adironda, he said that the swords of light were bringing in light from up to the 144th dimension, and they were coming in. If a person could accept that, it would be fine. It would come right in, or it would help the person achieve whatever level they could handle at that particular time. So it was really verified by Adironda that how the sword works, and I'll share with you now a little bit about what's in the handle. As Marilyn said, there's a lot of crystals in the handle. So that the blade of the sword is selenite, and the handle is a copper tube, and then it's attached to the blade. And then I'm able to fill that inside up with crystals and selenite, all these power crystals, also mixed in an epoxy. And in the middle is a bottle of sacred water from around the world, over 45 locations. Mother Mary's Spring in Lourdes, from Lake Titicaca, from Mount Fuji, from Mount Shasta, from Mount Khorasan, from Mount Kailash in Tibet, very famous lake, Manasarova, highest lake, one of the highest lakes in the world. And also water from all the springs in Ireland and England, the sacred waters from there are all mixed into the bottle, and it has two magnets on each end and a copper twisted wire in between. And then also it has the Gibeon meteor is attached to each end of the magnets. And what this does is it creates a field. It actually creates a frequency and an electrical activity that then, as your thought comes into the sword, it activates the sacred waters and everything that is magnified then through the selenite powder and all the other crystals, out through the blade and into the environment. And that's how, and then the bottom piece is an accent piece that brings in various energies. This one happens to be a jaguar head that's carved by a man I met in Chavin, Peru, that works at the Jaguar Temple in Chavin. It's a famous place, and he makes the jaguar heads, which brings in the shamanic. This particular sword activates all the connections to the shamanic realms that many of you may be working in. So that's a little bit of what I received, that how the sword is multidimensional and it's a non-linear tool. It can activate this dimension or any other dimension. It can help you call in and work with ascended masters and angelic beings more easily, to connect with your higher self as it raises your frequency higher and higher.
The price of that weekend, and after I give you these prices, then we're going to have a light body activation that Tom is going to do for all of us, so we will feel and experience all of that energy. That we only allow 50 people in, because that's how much the room holds, and we want everybody to have such a powerful experience, one-on-one with Tom, one-on-one with me, one-on-one with Adironda, one-on-one with Joy. Day one, if you choose to only do day one, that's Friday, is 222. We love the numbers. Day two, and you've heard Tom describe what happens on day one and then day two. Day two is 444. Day three is 666. Now, if you get all 3 days, that's 1332. Now, we're probably going to change it to 1333 just because that would make the numbers better for my entertainment. However, just by being on this webinar, just by listening to the replay, just by having this experience with us, you get all 3 days for $9.99. That's like, I don't know, $300, $333 off of the price. Plus, we'll give you another $144 value, 21 days to optimal health, that shows you how to go into the body, and then you can use the sword of light to help your body come into a better physical balance. Now, and you get the certification for all 3 days with day one, covering the light body activation. Day two, how to use that to heal others and how to use that to heal the planet. And day three, how to expand that energy really into a business if you wanted to. It's in Denver. It's at the Marriott in a Denver airport. I mean, we tried our best to make this as easy as possible. It's really easy to fly into Denver. The hotel has a shuttle. Make your room reservations because we will run out of rooms. And you know, we just really believe that every single person around should work with the Selenite Swords of Light. It replaces, I've got hosts of crystals and tools and things that I've invested in over the years. The Selenite Swords of Light and the tools that Tom makes, they're the only things that I use in my practice. It's so surprising. And they can go to our website, adironda.com.
No, it's adironda.com/selenite-sword. That's SELENITE-sword, adironda.com, ADIRONDA.com/sword. They go to our website and they go to the navigation bar. It's under online. It's under live events and workshops. It's the second one, Selenite Sword Mastery.
And all the details will be there.
Yeah.
All the details will be in. It looks like Tom I can see him rearing up with his 2 swords there. So let's just sit back. We need, Tom's not, are you going to talk, Tom?
Yeah, I'm going to talk you through this. So
So I was going to say we can pin the camera on you.
Yeah. What do you mean pin the camera on me?
So it stays with you
So
if
it
you're not
stays with you.
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead. I'm going to be talking also, but
I'll do that there.
okay. So
let's
what we're gonna, what I'm gonna do is light body activation. Side, I'd recommend if you could put your sit up, put your feet on the floor. If you're maybe lying on the couch or something, listening, I would just sit up, put your feet onto the floor. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the newest swords, the laser activated Flower of Life swords, and these are two Shavine jaguar head swords that I've been using for my activations. So what I want to do first is I'm going to point these swords just in between your feet. So just allow your attention to be with your feet. And what I'm going to do at this step is to activate a chakra that's below your feet. This chakra is called the Earth Star chakra. And one of the reasons, the great reasons we do this is really to connect in with the earth and all the love of the earth. But what, even some of the psychics like Katrina Raphael said, with selenite, you always want to be grounded. And this is the method to become very grounded, connected to the earth, is by activating the chakra below your feet called the Earth Star chakra. And the other thing as we activate this, what it does is it allows for the connection to all the crystals, all the minerals in the earth, billions of minerals, billions of crystals throughout the earth, all the scalar waves, those informational waves that are in the earth, the magnetic hyperfields of the earth, all can come through that chakra as we activate it below your feet. So whether you're in Alaska or you're in Maine or California or San Diego, it's the same thing. You can feel that connection as I activate the Earth Star chakra with the swords. And because these are the Flower of Life swords, we can really go deep within the earth. Let's go into the location called the Halls of Amenti. And the Halls of Amenti are where Thoth became immortal by lying under the Flower of Life. The Flower of Life exists in the earth itself. So we can activate that Flower of Life, sacred geometry, three-dimensional form, spinning in the earth itself. And the other thing we want to allow is the earth is always considered to be mother. We want to allow the energy of mother, the love of mother to come through, activating our feet. And what you may start to feel is some tingling in your feet, or you may feel energy moving up your legs, up your spine, maybe even up to the top of your head. But that's the first step. And the second step is I'm going to leave one sword at your Earth Star chakra, and we're going to put one sword above your head at a chakra called the Soul Star chakra, which is about 6 inches above your head. This is outside the physical body, and we're going to allow the Earth Star chakra to connect with the Soul Star chakra. And what you may feel is energy may be moving in other parts of the body. And then what I'm going to do is just raise the sword up. And as I raise it up, we activate other chakras above your head, the stellar gateway, which is a little higher, connecting the Earth Star to all those chakras above our head. We'll come back down, reconnect to that Soul Star chakra above your head, the Earth Star chakra below. Some of you may feel some upward expansion. As if you may feel, you may see something, you may know something. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work in your field. And we're going to start low, and we're just going to move up the physical body, allowing the swords of light to activate all the fields around, made up of your subtle bodies, your etheric body, emotional body, the mental body, the causal body, the spiritual body. What you may feel is some waves of light, waves of energy are moving. You may feel the energy being compressed into your Sushumna Nadi, the channel running up your spine, up to the top of your head. And one thing that the swords are great at many things, but they are just fantastic at activating the heart. And what we're going to do is a heart activation. So first, what I'm going to do is get connected to all the hearts on this call, wherever they may be, connecting into your heart with the Selenite swords. And once I feel that's ready, right there, what I'm going to do is slowly pull the swords apart. And we're going to allow for the expansion of your heart. Wider, brighter, more love, more light, more grace, expanding even more, further, more expansive. Another thing that we want to do is we want to write love. We're going to write love back into your past to restructure permanently in the timeline, allowing light to go backwards through your life on this planet, this lifetime, back through other lifetimes, maybe in the Egyptian lifetime, back through Atlantis, Lemurian, rewriting love, light, and grace, transmuting and removing any blocks, any traumas that you may have experienced, writing love into your past. And now what we want to do is we want to write the love into the future. Want to project light, love, and grace into your timeline through this lifetime, through multiple lifetimes in the past, always bringing and carrying forward light, love, grace, and gratitude. And now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a few minutes. So if you're have your eyes open, you could just close your eyes at this point. And what we're going to do during this time to gradually come back from this powerful light body experience is we're going to activate the divine feminine. And we're going to do that by calling forth Mother Mary. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us now and in the hour of our ascension. We call forth Mother Mary. We call forth her love, her light, her energy now to bless you, to provide healing for you, and we now call forth Kuan Yin. We call forth the great Kuan Yin and her 1,000 arms of healing gifted to her to help relieve the suffering of the world. Kuan Yin, her light, her love, her grace, we call her forth now. We call forth Mary Magdalene and all of her light, her love, her grace. Mary Magdalene. And we call forth the great Lakshmi for her abundance. Lakshmi. And we call forth Saraswati for her art, her music. Saraswati. We call forth the great and powerful Durga, riding on her tiger, for her protection and power. And we call forth the Kali to balance our ego. Kali. And we call to the mother of Egypt, Isis, to bring her love, her light. And we call to bring forth and activate her wings of love to surround us and protect us. We call forth the Mat to balance our hearts, lighten our hearts, Mat. We call to Sekhmet for her power, her protection, Sekhmet. And finally, we called forth to the great Sophia. Sophia, the ultimate divine feminine Sophia. So when you feel comfortable, take a few moments and you can open the eyes. So this is a technique that you're going to learn how to do, and we'll be doing this each day for the 3 days. So you definitely will understand and you will have mastered how to do this activation for others. Thanks a lot. It's been really great to share this with you.
Yes, it's really great for you to share it with us. Let me tell you, I found when you were working in the heart, several times there was a strong emotion that came up. Very powerful. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was really beautiful, really amazing. Thank
Got a
you.
handful of questions here. If you have a minute, Tom, some of
I
these
do.
are for you. Okay. So let's see. The first one is someone would like to know, Tom, is the sword only for healing? Can I heal my son of his insecurities? I've done virtual healing, so it seems it would be the same.
Yes, this would magnify whatever you've been currently doing. When you use the sword, it's going to magnify that many times. So one thing we're going to learn is our intention has an effect. So we always use intentions when we're working with the sword of light, because if you take the intention to heal your son of these insecurities, it's going to help. The other thing that you're going to learn how to do, if it's a family member, you can help clear any energies or distortions in your son's field that may be causing the problem, so that it could be helpful. You'll learn a number of techniques, whether it be the sword or the pendulum, that would be of use in that particular situation.
You know, Marilyn, I thought maybe you'd also like to answer that with what you did with the swords to smooth the chaos in your son's home.
My son and his wife and one of their children moved into my house for a month or two. That was 3 years ago. And I actually placed one of the swords up on the mantle. They didn't even know it was there. And I asked the selenite sword of light to just keep the energy balanced because they're a little volatile. And they did not have an argument or a fight or anything all the time. And I ran out of swords. And so I took that sword and I took it to an event and actually sold it. And when I came home, they were arguing and they were fighting. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? And it dawned on me. I took that selenite sword of light away. So yeah, I use it to harmonize the energy of a room. We go into lots and lots of hotel rooms. And so I just set the sword, my sword, in, and I just ask it to harmonize the energy in a room, and it does.
You know, and I have to share with you, Marilyn and I actually commented on this as we were leaving Santa Fe. Our bellmen and our drivers always go out of their way to hug us. And I don't know, you know, as I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, do you think that has to do with the swords or?
Very well could be. Yeah, very well could be.
Does the material of the pendulum matter? Do different materials work better for different deeds?
That's right. That's a very good question. And the answer is yes. The pendulum that I used to use was stainless steel. That was recommended by Dr. Parcells and also by Hannah Kruger. So I used stainless steel pendulum because it has less interference. And what I found is that I can't use any crystalline pendulums other than one. If it's made of a Lemurian crystal, I can use that one. But the new pendulums that I make have all these other crystals plus selenite plus the magnetics of the neodymium gold-plated magnet that's inside them. So what it produces is it's not affected by outside energy. So what can happen with, say, if you go out and buy an amethyst pendulum or just a clear quartz pendulum, they can actually pick up non-beneficial energies because they're, in a sense, clear quartz is designed to pick up non-beneficial energies. So I find that the only pendulum I use is this one now, or in the past I would use a stainless steel pendulum, but I think the material is very important because I call these selenite magnetic dowsing tools they're really a processing pendulum in addition to a yes/no type pendulum.
Okay, another question about the pendulum. Is it common to be able to control the pendulum with telekinesis? I can move the pendulum in any direction I want, so don't think I can use a pendulum. How do you disconnect from the control?
That's the big issue. Intuition is really in your higher self, is at the higher level. So our higher self is always with us. As Cryon says, it's built into our DNA. So our higher self is always there, although at a higher frequency. And what I find is that, yes, I could make the pendulum go a certain way, but the idea is to disconnect my ego or what I'm trying to do and not be connected with the result that I get, but just to receive the correct information. So there are a number of techniques that we use to help people that are having problem with that. One of the things is that we're going to clear non-beneficial energies from your field that will help your pendulum to be more accurate and correct, and not have this control by mental control that you could exercise, that you want the pendulum, you want to move the pendulum a certain way, and it will do that. But that's not being connected. We want to learn to be connected to our higher self, and we've got a number of different processes if you have difficulty with that to help you with that situation.
So another question, Tom, is somebody said their sword just broke. Can they still use it, and what should they do with it?
If anybody had a sword and it broke, you can call me up and send me a picture of it on my, let's see, I can give you my cell number, 970-227-1198. It's 970-227-1198. If you're in the U.S., I can repair it pretty easily. If you're in another country, it might be a little more expensive to get it to me. But the sword can be repaired. I mean, if it's completely shattered, I can actually replace just the blade. There's a small charge for that. But yes, I can correct your sword. And no, if the tip broke off and I shorten it, it doesn't affect the energy of the sword. It'll look nicer, and we want like that. Or if you come to the workshop, a lot of times I repair some damage at the workshop if anybody has dropped or damaged their sword. The idea with crystals, you never want to drop a crystal on the floor, because even a quartz crystal could shatter. A selenite sword could break also, and you don't want to bang them on things. So what we teach people is to have a lot of awareness when you're working with the sword. Where is it in space? And we try to avoid knocking it on any walls or things like that.
Right.
So here's a question for you, Marilyn. And Tom, you might find this kind of interesting. On the February 222 double digit, Adironda said to hang the Ankh over your bed. And this person did so that night and had a dream that they were John the Baptist. And they want to know, Marilyn, how that can be validated. But also, I just wanted to mention that to Tom to see if he had any comments about that as well.
Also, it says in the question they were with John the Baptist, not that they were John the Baptist.
Right, correct.
Well, I don't know. What's the name of the person?
Diana.
I get yes on that. So was she with them? She was either definitely there. But yeah, that's the kind of thing that can happen. I actually always sleep with an Ankh. And I've got one in my car also. So I forgot to mention the Ankh we have techniques that magnifies everything that we want to do. It magnifies clearing, it magnifies light work, it magnifies work with the chakras, which we utilize to help bring the chakras to a higher geometric structure and activate the divine plan for our chakras. That's some of the things we'll be using those with in the workshop.
Did you want to say anything about that, Marilyn?
No, I got the same thing that Tom got, that yes, it is true. You were with John the Baptist. It feels like that you were very close to John the Baptist, and you traveled with him quite a bit. And you also met Master Yeshua or Jesus and connected with that energy at his baptism. And so, yeah, I would say that that would be correct. I confirm.
Another question. What's the difference between the Lemurian crystals versus a regular one?
Okay, Lemurian crystal come from one location in Brazil. And the theory is when Lemuria sank, there were many individuals that were of people were more etheric in Lemuria, and there were people that had really high consciousnesses that as they left, they brought their energies into this crystal bed, these specific crystal beds in Brazil, and left their love and their light in the crystal. And that's why the Lemurian crystals do not pick up non-beneficial energies, and you feel a lot of love and light. So a Lemurian crystal, you'll notice there's these ridges that run up on various faces of a Lemurian crystal. That's one of the ways you can tell that it's a Lemurian, has the Lemurian energy in it, because they all seem to have that. But they're all really from one location in Brazil.
Got a couple more questions and then we need to wrap it up. We've gone a little bit over.
Okay.
Does the training for the Selenite sword require each person to bring in the sword he or she purchased?
No, we're going to have, there'll be swords to use at the workshop, or you can bring your sword if you want. But we'll have I'll have all the newest swords that I'm making will be in the workshop in Denver. And also the Flower of Life swords will be available.
And there's a couple people asking about whether we can do this mastery class online. And so far we haven't, because it's such a hands-on workshop. And also Marilyn and Tom teach this together only once a year.
So to do a 3-day workshop online is pretty difficult. I have done a 1-day workshop online, and but that was when. But the other issue is you would need to get swords, so it would be a little different format. We'd have to discuss it. I don't think we could do a 3-day. It just would be too difficult to do all the processes one-on-one over the internet.
Yeah. Plus, they'd have to hire a film crew, and that would increase the cost quite a bit.
I think if they can swing it, it's really great to come to a workshop, because then you get to experience and check out multiple swords and see what they feel like, see how you like this one or that one. And then you also then get to work with other people, and that sharing of energy and what people experience we always share with each other after you do an activation. What did the person experience? How did they feel? How did it, what did they maybe see? What did they receive, or that kind of thing? And that sharing really reinforces the whole learning process to a much higher level. So definitely it's better in person.
Yeah, I agree. There's several people here, Tom, that want to know, can you laser the Flower of Life pattern on their existing sword?
I could do that. They should call me if they want that done. When I started, I saw this could be done, and I found somebody that in the first batches of swords, I couldn't make them myself. I had to send them to California. But now I've learned how to do it here and have a laser engraver available to me. So I am laser engraving them here. So the answer is, yeah, I could do that. That phone number, 970-227-1198. Give me a call and we'll discuss it. If somebody broke their sword and they want me to look at it, take a picture and send me the picture, make sure I got your name and everything in there. And I'll check it out and let you know what I can do there. If you want your sword laser engraved, it's possible.
Okay.
I mean, I got to figure a charge. This is the first person that's asked to do that. I should have anticipated it, but there would be a charge to do it. But I'll figure that out by the time you call me.
There's actually quite a few asking that question, Tom, just so you know.
What's the number?
Yeah. If they can get the flower of life etched on their existing sword.
Just really quickly on the swords, I'm just glancing through the questions. Karen says everyone likes to handle her sword. Does that affect it? No, the Selenite swords do not pick up any energy whatsoever. Can we purchase a sword if we cannot make it to the workshop? Yes, you can purchase a sword either from Tom or you can purchase a sword from me. You can contact either one of us. What we find is the swords kind of pick their owner. And so I intuit which sword is yours. And then I send you a picture of one or two or three swords that would like to come home with you and send that to you. And then you can pick which one you choose.
One note I'd like to make. When somebody said, can you let other people hold your sword and thing? When you let somebody hold your sword, make sure they really hold it, because I've had at least 3 or 4 people recently that let somebody hold their sword and they broke it. They dropped it. They couldn't hold on to it. I've had somebody that had never experienced the sword kept asking me, could I hold the sword? And so finally, and I was in a workshop, another person's workshop, I let them hold the sword. They went back and sat down, and I was sitting there, and the next thing I hear is a thud. This person fell off the chair, didn't break the sword, but fell off of the chair holding it because it was so powerful she couldn't handle the energy. So
we notice when we have the swords on our table, we say the swords actually pick their owners.
Yes.
Because we've noticed that people will hover over a sword, maybe even all weekend. And at the end of the weekend, they realize that is their sword.
Hey, I have it all the time. I'll tell you a quick story. In Sunshine Coast in Australia, a lady was holding 2 swords trying to decide which one to get. She was concentrating on her right hand, sword in her right hand. She said her left hand just started going like this and was uncontrollable. It said that sword wanted to be
and also Marilyn will, if you really want one, when she gets a shipment, and she will intuit it for you. The thing is that you have to catch her because we're traveling so much right now. Those are really beautiful swords, those flower of light laser etched ones, Tom. I mean, we're seeing them for the first time, and actually we shared with you earlier, Lee Carroll told us about them. He asked if we had seen them because he was looking for them on our table. So I'm really excited that we get to take them with us to Canada in the next couple of weeks.
Great. Yeah, Lee really liked the laser engraves. I got to show them to him in Boulder, his Boulder workshop with Greg Braden I went to this year.
Well, I want to thank both of you for joining me tonight. It's just been really special. And Tom, I'm with Marilyn all the time, so I always appreciate her time, of course, but it's really great to be with you tonight, Tom, and we really appreciate your time, and we're so excited to be with you in May.
I really look forward to this every year because it's really great working with Marilyn and Joy, because they use the swords. They basically, my biggest problem is producing enough swords, because Joy and Marilyn are showing them to so many people around the world that they just are going off the shelf really, really fast. So I really appreciate their great work, bringing light, love, and more light, more love, more grace into the planet and doing the work that they're doing. So I really look forward to seeing some of you in Denver or somewhere else, or check out Marilyn and Joy in their travels around the world with Cryon.
And thank you, Marilyn. You know,
Thank
you
you,
always bring so
Joy.
much to us. Really appreciate you.
And I guess somebody's asked, will Adironda do an activation tonight? We're running so long. I think the selenite sword activation was pretty powerful.
I think it did a number on you, Marilyn.
I know Adironda's always ready, but let me see if they have anything to say. So it is good day to you, huh? Very good to see you. We honor you, Master Tom, the master of the selenite swords. We also honor you. The Joy is always power-filled with the energy. No one understands that what we talked about this evening was just the blockages that may prevent you from being aware. And this is a major tool. These are major tools that simplify everything. And really the world is so chaotic, why not simplify it? So in that energy of activation, what we are connecting with is to carry forth this energy. And as that energy carries in to you, take a deep breath. As you see, we use the selenite swords a bit differently than our dear Master Tom, and understand that with that energy, understand that with that vibration, that tool, that essence is still inside of your soul. So your soul actually knows how to work with these tools. It actually understands that vibration and that frequency, and it does activate the energy and raise your vibration up to the 144th dimension. So the dimensional inner sight, the dimensional sight, the dimensional pathways are coming through, activating you. Take a deep breath. Activating your energy. Take another deep breath. And activating all that come into your energy field. And see, that is the key, because as you raise your vibration, everything around you raises their vibration, because your field is 27 feet across. So all is feeling that vibration. Someone asked the question about, will it help in harmonizing their child? Yes. Will it help in removing a blockage in their intestines? Yes. Well, this energy is within you. Remember, your soul is connected to it. Your soul brought you here tonight for not knowing what you were expecting, but your soul brought you here. Your soul is bringing you wherever it is that you need to go, because you are a part of the divine path. And in activating that dimensional vibration, in activating that dimensional frequency, know that with that energy, with that vibration, take a deep breath. With that focus, you carry forth that vibrational frequency. And as you use the old and the new, it activates through you. Take another deep breath. With that vibration of rolling ahead in the vibration of you, with that vibration of shifting that capacity. Keep breathing. as the two meet in the pinnacle crown chakra of you. Know that your energy is raising its vibration as you speak. Your energy is raising its vibration to the highest level possible for you, for good health, for abundance, for energy, for the vibration and the frequency of the coming world. The coming world is raising its dimension, so you can be ready for it now. Ah, dearest beings of light, we know this was like a quickie. We love you deeply. We see who you are. We see that vibration, and we honor you, and we bid you namaste. Bye.
Namaste.
Namaste. And namaste to all of you as well. And look forward to seeing you very soon.
Namaste, y'all. Namaste.
Bye-bye.